again, thank you for accepting our invitation. So, Mr. Kasper BOSSINK, he's the manager of the DAMEN Romanian yards here in Romania, and there are several yards that are part of the group and are collaborating in this very nice, let's say, regional ecosystem that DAMEN built in this part of Europe. So Mr. BOSSINK is going to present us some of his personal perspectives regarding the market trends in shipbuilding. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahmoud, for the introduction and for the invite, as well as to my colleague here on behalf of the Ukrainian Maritime Cluster, Dr. Tsukova. I would like to share today with you, I will keep it short, but the practical market trends that we see in the Black Sea area. On the one hand, vessels and constructions to be operated in the Black Sea. And on the other hand, what we see as possibilities in terms of construction, collaboration, partnerships, joint ventures to be built in this region, not necessarily to be operated in this region. I would like to start sharing a couple of slides. Yeah, approve. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. My name is Kasper BOSSINK. I'm working as a sales director for DAMEN in Romania. Of course, we also have a presence in Ukraine, where I see some of my colleagues also attending this call, as well as in Turkey, in Antalya, so not necessarily the Black Sea region, where we want to zoom in on today. I would shortly like to show a little bit what the presence of DAMEN in Romania consists of. So we have DAMEN Shipyards Galați, DAMEN Shipyards Mangalia, DAMEN Workforce Romania, which we use for development and training, and we have Marine Engineering Galați. And these companies all together have up to today delivered over 1,600 vessels. They consist of 3,500 people. Altogether, we have 4 large dry docks. It consists of 1.5 million square meters of area and 2,500 meters of quayside. Just to give a bit of an indication, so 4 entities, but consisting of the biggest construction sites which are there in the DAMEN group. I would like to zoom in on 4 different market segments. So shipbuilding, but also ship repair maintenance, offshore construction, and then particularly offshore wind, and some other market segments that might be interesting for the Black Sea region in the upcoming periods. What do we see in shipbuilding? We see an increase in transportation of people, which logically is followed by more specialized vessels and research vessels. We see a very constant demand for pontoons, barges, floating docks, high demand for naval support vessels. Bulk demand is increasing, of course, a market which normally is executed in Asia, but we see due to a lack of capacity over there that is transitioning towards Turkey and Romania. And then I have double here, but also a high demand of frigates and again, naval support vessels. In the offshore construction market, we focus typically on topsides and floating structures. Topsides, I will zoom in on this market segment and what kind of products are part of this in a later slide. But we talk here about high voltage direct current as well as high voltage the substations. With floaters, we will zoom in a little bit on the designs that are there. With regard to ship repair and maintenance, we see that clients at the Black Sea are facing difficulties in getting their service maintenance and repair works executed. It's becoming now less and less, but this trend is still there. Demand is catching up. We see that in the Mediterranean area that there is a desire for lower cost locations to do these kind of activities, both predictive and sometimes even um, the ad hoc repairs required. And we see for Navy an increasing demand. Then in terms of other market segments that could be of interest due to the fact that the capabilities, the workmanship required is lacking in Europe, and it is there in the Black Sea region. And then we talk about wind solar generation, steel constructions for infrastructure, think about simple bridges or whatsoever, multi-purpose vehicles, military vehicles, port container operations, and the construction of LNG tanks. Now, I would like to zoom a little bit in terms of this offshore wind, what the infrastructure contains. So you have wind turbines either installed in the seabed or floating. The floating structures are typically these triangles on buoyancy boxes, the cylindricals. These lead to high voltage alternating current substations, those we see here. Those lead all to one big high voltage direct current platform, which with subsea cables leads to converter stations on land. And if we look at that trend, I would like to show a little bit what that means for instance, what we foresee as a product portfolio that could be of interest. First of all, for the floating wind, we need anchor handling solutions. We need, of course, cable laying, seabed surveying, ocean towage, as well as a lot of offshore support vessels for commissioning, but also for maintenance and inspections. The lifting devices for installments, big headache at the moment for the ever becoming larger floating wind solutions. And yeah, the cable laying, but I already touched upon that. I would like to show two topside projects, which are one is currently under construction and one is just leaving one of our shipyards at the Black Sea. So these are the high voltage distribution topsides, which I just referred to. And we see an ever increasing market demand in this segment. So this is one of the fields that is of interest. First of all, for construction and collaboration in the Black Sea region. And we also see, not in the near future, but in, let's say, in the midterm future, 3 to 5 years, that there will also be installments of these parks in the Black Sea area. Of course, aquaculture is also booming, so live fish carriers, but also the more processing type of vehicles, all with the utmost importance to have sustainable solutions, preferably either full electric or methanol solutions. And we see a demand for defense in terms of frigates. Here we see the GSS, joint support. And here we see the Miss Rotterdam. Now, if I still have some time, Professor Mahmoud, I think the request was to shortly touch upon the aspect of dual use, especially when it comes to Navy vessels. And I would like to give
as much as you can, Kasper.
Thank you very much. I would like to give a very practical example of this. I worked on 2 projects with the dual use aspect as a project manager, one as a director. And so typically from a theoretical perspective, already in the tender phase, the pre-contract phase, you sit together, you analyze the localization requirements and how you're going to set up the collaboration. That's partially a contractual decision, and where to procure and where to engineer and where to provide which information. As a project manager, you are then typically involved in the aspect of who requires which kind of information and how are you going to set up the information architecture in such a way that the information is there on a need-to-know basis, but heavily protected based on the confidentiality requirements that are there for that typical product. Typically, especially when it comes to frigates in DAMEN, we have the concept engineering phase happening in the Netherlands, or the company which will be the end operator. In this phase, you analyze local content and you analyze the dual use requirements, of course, always adhering to the European policies set. Then basic engineering for us typically is happening either in Poland or at MEGA, so in Galatz, Marine Engineering Galatz, and detailed engineering in Ukraine at MDEM, and nowadays also partially in Romania. Sometimes other collaborations are there either due to expertise or due to localization requirements. Then when it comes to, let's say, the importing and exporting of goods and documentation, that typically is happening in the country itself, where the operation is happening, whether it's engineering or whether it's construction, because there the knowledge exists, and there the rules and regulations are typically embedded. So as a project manager, you are checking up on these requirements and whether it's fulfilled, but the expertise we have on each of the local destinations. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. But please come back with every question that you may have on this topic, and I will try to answer it as good as reasonably possible. So thank you all for your time. Thank you also for the previous presentations, very interesting. And thank you for the invite, Professor Mahmoud.